Hello everyone, today we're going to be doing a video on how the Titanic sunk. I guess we'll just start it. I've done a sort of one of these things. And so it starts off as the Titanic is being built. I made it as it was built. Just imagine like this bit on the left of where I'm pointing at just didn't exist, okay? Here, there is a fire like there, which strengthens, which severely weakens the iron here, but it's put out after a bit by people. And then over here, the RMS Olympic collides with the HMS Hawke in the ocean and loses a lot of its hull. And then the RMS Olympic is deemed to be at fault for the crash, and White Star Line lose a lot of prestige for that. So since the RMS Olympic is a functioning ship and the Titanic isn't yet, the Titanic's strong steel hull is given to the Olympic, and some less strong iron is put on the Titanic, which weakens it as well as the fire did. And then the Titanic sets off, everyone's waving goodbye. And then it hits the iceberg. It was 11:20 p.m. on April 12th. The Titanic collided with the iceberg in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, where people in the crow's nest saw it, delivered the message to the thing they tried to steer away, and they put the wheels on reverse, but they collided with it on its side, which historians disagree. It would have been better if the Titanic had rammed it head on, instead it wouldn't have sunk as quickly as getting piercings all along the side of it. Then another thing noticed is one of the creators of the Titanic, who owned the key to the binoculars that the people in the crow's nest would have, interestingly disappeared. Well, he gave his ticket to someone else the day before it set off, and interestingly disappeared with the key. And if the people in the crow's nest had the binoculars, the event probably could have been avoided, which is something interesting to think about. Next is the engine rooms at the bottom start getting flooded quite quickly, and the doors are closed, but enough water is already through, and the piercings mean it doesn't really matter, they can be open or closed. Next part is, this is the front of the Titanic, the hull being taken over by the water, and you can see the ship is starting to tilt as its end comes up out of the water. The next thing to happen is all lights suddenly go off in the ship. All lights go off, and pretty soon after that, the next thing to happen is the ship tears in half, as the back end is so far out of the water that gravity takes hold, and the back end rips off, crashing into the water. So does the front one, before the front one eventually sinks down, followed by the back end. And then 2 hours after the distress signal was sent out, the RMS Carpathia arrived and picked up around 700 of the 2,000 passengers, whether in lifeboats or somehow floating in the water. But something that isn't more widely known, the USS California was much closer than the Carpathia and could have saved a lot more people, but didn't respond to the distress signal that the Titanic sent out, which, again, just like the binocular thing, quite interesting, quite a mystery. But just so you know, rest in peace for everyone who died on the Titanic that day. It was a sad event and should be remembered long into the future.